How would you play in this position? Any ideas? Take as much time as you need. We could play a move like trading here, but that would leave us with a rook against a bishop in an endgame that should be a draw with correct play. We could also maybe move the bishop away or protect it, but those don't really gain an advantage for white. The correct move is to create what we call a pin, which is one of the most common tactical themes in chess that you've probably already run into several times. And I want to dedicate this chapter and all the exercises that will be linked in the description to the concept of a pin. So the move that here white can play to pin this bishop is rook d2. And why is this bishop pinned? Well, it's pinned because there's not really an option to move it anymore. So it can't come here, it can come on this direction or that direction or that one. It cannot move anywhere because that would leave the king exposed to the attack of the rook. So we are indirectly protecting our bishop because this piece is basically stopped as an attacker. It cannot attack anything from here. It can't also defend any pieces. If there was some piece to defend, then the bishop is not an effective defender anymore. And most importantly here, no matter what black plays, since we now have two attackers against the bishop, we will capture it on the next move. Of course, this doesn't just happen with pinned pieces to a king. That's what we call an absolute pin, because there's no move the black bishop can make ever. But there are situations where we have a relative pin, like this one here, and I let you think for a bit what move you should play. Pause the video if you need it. And the move you should play here is bishop b4, pinning the knight not to the king, but to the queen instead. So if the knight were to move, we would simply take the queen. And we're also attacking it, so we're putting pressure. If black tries to defend it, we will eventually just get to capture it. However, as you can see, there's this alternative move that creates a counterattack. So, because if the queen were a king, this would be illegal. We cannot put our own king in danger, but we can put a queen in danger. So here, by creating an attack on our own queen, the knight is capable of moving. So how would we continue here? Because white can still gain an advantage. The continuation would be to capture the queen, and black would take ours, and now we would take this rook over here. So this is still advantageous for white, but we have to take a new option into consideration. So we have to consider this knight jump as an alternative. Finally, there's the idea of a partial pin. So in a partial pin, the pinned piece can still move in one of the directions. So for instance here, if we play the move bishop to c4, we are partially pinning this bishop because it's not allowed to move on this diagonal, but it can certainly move in this one. So for instance, we wouldn't use a queen to pin a bishop like this. In this situation, of course, position is still winning because by partially pinning the bishop, we are basically forcing its trade and getting a won king and pawn versus king endgame. So partial pins or relative pins are still useful, even if they don't work as perfectly as the example of an absolute pin that we saw on the first diagram. Okay, so as I've already insisted multiple times during this course, it's now your turn to do the work, take the puzzles in the description. There's like 50 exercises. I probably add more at some point. But after solving those carefully, trying to aim for getting as many correct as possible, you should be already quite equipped to exploiting pins in different games in different positions during your games. Of course, you can also go to Lichess or any other chess puzzle platform and solve a few more puzzles if you need some reinforcement. Keep in mind that the difficulty in the Lichess study will be increasing, so the first one will be quite easy, but after some point they will start getting more and more complicated, so you may want to solve some now and come back later for the harder ones if you fail them, or maybe compare how you perform on all 50 puzzles now versus maybe a few months from now. But still, let's get on to work, and we see each other on the next video where we will explain another tactical pattern.